y'all. I am back from New York. I finally actually made it up there. I will probably be talking about that more significantly later. Suffice it to say that it was, I guess, mixed. I would say that I had a relatively good time, that I got to see my family and a friend that I hadn't seen in a couple of years, which it's kind of surprising that it's been that long, but that's what the pandemic does, I guess. And it was good to be back. It was nice to see everything that had changed. It was my first time back as Lauren, and it was relatively quiet. But I'll talk about that more when I get into things properly. In writing news, I would say that I'm making decent progress on Winterfall 2. Um, Right now, I am working on chapter 8 still, which I think was the chapter I was working on when I left. Um, I was hoping to get more done while I was away, but it just didn't end up really being conducive to a productive work environment, so I just didn't end up producing much while I was in New York. I think I would have, though, if I had had an easily accessible desk, but I chose to work and stay upstairs, so I didn't really have access to a desk that I could just kind of plunk in front of. And generally speaking, there was just a lot of other stuff going on that just didn't really sync up with being creative. Um, let's see, what else was there? Oh yes. Well, I mean, I guess I'm working on that. I'm thinking of trying to maybe try and get a cycle going and spend part of the time I have on Sunday for uh, publishing efforts and maybe also outlining or something. I mean, I kind of might divide the time into two chunks because Sunday afternoons I have a good span of time that I also like using to write, but I also needs to allocate some time to the aspect and responsibilities of getting things into print, of getting this released, of all that other kind of stuff that I just right now don't have any time allocated specifically for. And I also want to allocate some time to outlining new projects because outlining ideas takes dedicated time of thought, and you don't get necessarily a lot written, but it takes time to work out the details and get the notes going and get everything the way that you want them, or at least in a skeletal structure that you can sort of base your idea on, putting the meat on the bones. And I'm still needing to think about that, but so far right now I have some time allocated every night to pretty much do some writing, which has been going reasonably well. I found a rate and a quantity that seems to be working well for me, that I seem to be able to do pretty well without making myself upset or stressed or any of that other stuff, which is good. It's all good stuff. So but I would like to maybe be able to work on more than one thing, or maybe have a good pattern that I can like work on short pieces every now and then, because I want to produce things that come out more frequently than just the big projects. But these are all questions about balance, finding the time and the mood, and just seeing what works and what doesn't. I have on the plus side, I can announce that I have a story coming out on the Voice of Dog for Pride Month in June, which I have been told is pretty good. I think it was pretty decent. It was a little bit autobiographical because it was kind of reflective of what was going on with me at the time. And although I think, I can't really say it went better than reality, but well, actually, I don't know. It was basically, it was kind of, I guess, where my thoughts were at the time, because I was coming up with a few different potential ideas for a Pride Month story. Uh, I was trying to avoid the whole angle, I guess, about overcoming transphobia necessarily, even if it's not meant maliciously. A lot of people have that subconscious thought, and I mean, overall, one way or another, I think I came up with a decent story. Hopefully, one that will resonate with people, or at least that is a decent read. And I took a slightly different angle for it. Someone being trans species instead of transgender. Just to try and, I guess, make it fit, or just be something a little different. Just to try and, I guess, take it from a different angle that maybe hadn't been tried before. Maybe it has. But it was something that I think came out well. I have a couple of other stories that I could probably release at this point, and I need to send a little bit more of it to somebody to take a look at and just see what their thoughts are. And in terms of writing news, for now anyway, I'm just going to keep going on Winterfall 2 until I have a better grasp on what I want to pursue next, because I have some skeletally done outlines for a few projects of different genres, different settings. I'm still working on trying to redo Lauren's idea. I have the basic, premise for a couple of different projects, and a lot of it needs time, and that's really the issue. Trying to find time to allocate for these things, as well as the stuff that I'm actively working on. So it's been a challenge, but at least on the plus side, I'm trying to approach it like I'm starting over and trying to get a grip on what I'm doing, which I think is slowly working. In video news, I'm working on a vlog today as per usual. I am probably going to try and finish at least one book review. I may try and do a recording for another, and I may also try and do a book review just out of suit for one particular entry, just because usually I do them in suit and all that, and I don't know, this one might require a little bit more of a personal touch perhaps, but we'll see. But I'm gonna see what I get done today, because honestly I'm not really sure if I had a plan for exactly what I was going to do. I have more or less an hour and a half left, and I can see what happens in that time. But as long as I finish at least one project, I'm on track. So that's good. That's progress. That's all progress, and it's all working. But let's see. So that's about it for video news for right now. Nothing terribly exciting. Books I'm reading. I'm still working on the Complete Red Vixen Adventures. Rich Day knows how long that they are, but that's a good thing because it's plenty of material for me to enjoy. So far, I am about 4/5 of the way through the second novella, and I may take a break at some point. I may just keep going with it. I don't know yet, because anthologies, any kind of anthology, any kind of collection, it's always a big project. It's always a long time to read it, and it takes a lot to get it reviewed and all that stuff. And I like to be making steady progress. I'm working on. I don't want to make it sound like a chore, but it takes longer just because of the scope of what I'm reading at a time. But I've finished Rafts, and but I'm also working on Scars of the Golden Dancer, which I will get to in a second, but I want to go back to RVA for a minute, because so far it's going really well. The second one is good. I want to reserve most of my comments, I think, for when I get to actually reviewing it. But so far I must say that I did not expect the second novella was going to switch main characters, because I kind of did not anticipate Sally being the main character for number 2. But it also gave me a thought that it had never really occurred to me, because I'm always trying to find ways to maximize the story mileage that I have, because everybody knows we have finite amounts of time, finite amounts of words that can fit in the book, and so on and so forth. And I don't know, I tend to stick with the same protagonists for one reason or another. Same central protagonist anyway, like Joe and Logan and Sierra, and they tend to follow their adventures through various settings. But it has also occurred to me that also is an idea or something. There's also multiple narrators. There's so many different tools in the toolbox, but it's just something that had never really occurred to me, and it was kind of a surprise. But it worked well. It's going well. A lot of it, I guess, depends on how the last 2 chapters wrap up, because I have 2 chapters left in, and I can't remember I guess it's Shadow of the Red Vixen is the second one. and there's a lot of questions left to be answered, which I don't know will be answered in this book or not. But if not, then there's always part three or whatever the case may be. And I mean, I don't know if the complete Red Vixen Adventures means that Royce is finished in this universe or not. Um, I mean, as we all know, never say never, because I had Winterfall originally was intended to be a trilogy, and it's really looking like it's at minimum going to end up being at least a 5-book series. So such as plans are what happens when life is what happens when you're making other plans, or whatever. I don't know, stuff like that. But it's going well, and like I said, I don't know. I hesitate to make comments so far without having read the whole thing. But the plus side is that so far, I mean, there's a lot of good things that I have to say about it. It handles a lot of things really well, and I mean, so far, I just have to say that it's definitely really it's really enjoyable, and it's got a lot that I think is subtle touches that I mean, I would prefer to save for the full review when I get into talking about some of that stuff. But there's a lot of things that I will be definitely having good things to say about. Um, let's see. As far as Scars of the Golden Dancer, I have started reading the book by Night Eyes Dayspring, and I've only read the first chapter so far, but I really like it. It kind of has an interesting approach. I mean, it takes place in the desert, which is probably one of my least common settings for me, just because I don't know, maybe it's just my mental prejudice of just thinking that there's nothing to do in the desert. But I always, I tend to avoid. Well, I guess I shouldn't even say that, because Winterfall takes place in a frozen wasteland. So I mean, it's not like there's a lot of things to do there either. But I guess the reality is just that you fill it with whatever your story needs. So maybe that's just let's see, what is the term for like prejudice against landscapes or terrain types? I don't know. Is there even a word for that? Anyway, it's a good book so far. It's like, again, I've only read the first chapter, so I don't have a lot of stuff to base it on. But the main characters that I've met so far are interesting. The story seems like it's well set up, and I'm looking forward to reading it. So we'll see. As far as visiting mom, this is where my enthusiasm dampens a little bit, because I did go back to visit my family, and although the visit was pleasant, I know a couple of things that I kind of had just sort of suspected before. One of which is that my parents and I do not align politically at all, which I mean is fine, I guess, but I'm gonna have to definitely make sure that next time we just take pains not to bring up politics at all, because I mean, or at least just not. Because I don't know. It just. I don't really know if I belong to any particular political party, but I kind of also think that it's just one of those things that we're not likely to agree on, because we're just pretty far apart on that. And I don't know. But what really kind of bothered me was that even though I know that my parents have known that I've transitioned, and they've been aware of it for a while, and I guess in fairness, it's like they haven't really been confronted with it on a day-to-day basis. I don't know if I was. I know I was undercover last time I visited at my mom's request, and I don't know if my hair was blue then. So I don't know if there were even any outward signs. But and I had a conversation with my sister that I'm still not sure if it was judgy or supportive or what. But um, suffice it to say that it was a little uncomfortable. I mean, the visit itself wasn't terrible. I had some time to myself, and I introduced my mom to a sci-fi show that we really enjoyed and that she seemed to like. The visit was good. I know they love me and all that fun stuff, but it's definitely going to be an adjustment for them, I think. And I mean, for me, I'm fortunate that nothing changes, because my sister's still my sister and all that, but everything's changing for everybody else as far as I'm concerned. So I mean, it's a little rough because they tended to stick with my old name and old identifiers, which did not please me. but I didn't really say anything this time just because I was trying to be, I guess, reasonable and or just not uh, bring it up much. But it definitely did bother me, and it did upset me a little bit, and it wasn't ideal. But on the plus side, I gave my mom a Christmas ornament that I intended to deliver when I had originally planned to go down in January. I saw an old friend of mine that we got to tour some different places and wander around and just kind of have fun for a couple of hours, which was a nice afternoon that I definitely needed. And we also went to the Smith Haven Mall, which I haven't been to in years, and I found some mangas, some of which were pretty crazy, and she knows what I'm talking about, and a couple that kind of caught my attention. One of which I've read, and one of which I have not. The first one is called Wonder Cat Q-chan, which basically is about a guy who adopts a cat that's just sitting in a box. And if you like cats, you'd love this comic. I highly recommend it. It's Wonder Cat Q-chan, Kyuuchan, and apparently it has like 8 volumes, and I intend to probably read them all. It's simple 4-panel comics, and they're just really heartwarming and really adorable. And if you have a cat, you totally get it. So, if you're a cat person, I recommend it, and I think it's a really good series. But let's see, what else did we do? Went around to one of my favorite places, Friendly's. Has a lot of childhood memories. Let's see, what else? I know we talked a lot about Star Wars and Star Trek and things like that. Saw a retro toy store called Time Warp, I think. That was kind of nifty. I had a good visit, and I don't know. It was like, all in all, it was mixed. I think it was one of those maybe necessary things that I had to do, and no. But as far as next time, there will probably be some preconditions that I'll have to insist upon, and I don't know. Maybe if Ben's with me, it'll be a little better. But I guess if we, hopefully we make progress, because I would hate for it to be the other way. Um, Con plans are continuing. I still have some arrangements I need to make for Star Trek Las Vegas. I still need to make arrangements for Alamo City. I think we probably have a room. I need to check with our room captain and find out about that. And also, I guess the last. Well, I'll reserve the next thing for another video, perhaps its own separate thing, when I decide exactly what I want to say. For right now, I mean, for the moment, things are okay. I'm back in Texas. I'm back working on writing, and things are going okay. So we'll cross that next bridge when we get to it. But I will catch you all later, and see you in 2 weeks.
Thanks for watching. If you liked it, click the subscribe button and leave a comment below. Catch you later.